Let's be on our seat. Proverbs 18:15. Proverbs 18:15. Proverbs 18:15. So the heart of the discerning acquires knowledge, for the ears of the wise seek it out. So as a church, we are not only intentional about praying, we are not only intentional about worship, we're also intentional about acquiring knowledge. So today, as some of us must have seen the flyer, it's our Legal Sunday. It's our Legal Sunday. So it's not as if you are coming here to have legal battle. We are coming here to acquire knowledge when it comes to laws of the land. And to take us on this is no other person but our barrister from Heavenly Chamber. Right, so let's make welcome Pastor Barrister Lekon Adeoye. Welcome, sir. So let's also use this opportunity to appreciate the prayers of our mother in the Lord that came to church with us this morning. All right.
Praise God. So I would like to start by appreciating the pastorate of the church for the minute fit to let us have this day. And I've been told to discuss on business, contracts, and property acquisition in Nigeria. I don't know if you got the topic. The topic is business, contracts, and property acquisition in Nigeria. So going into the topic, there is this legal term we always use, which is the fact that ignorant of the law is no excuse. And this is further posited in, because I have some Bible verses here that further strengthens what the law says. I have here Proverbs 24, verse 3 to 4. I don't know if that can be projected. However, I'll proceed to read. It says, by wisdom a house is built, and through understanding it is established. Through knowledge its rooms are filled with rare and beautiful treasures. So when we talk about business, I believe we all understand what business is, but I'll go further to explain what business really is. So I have here that business refers to the activity and operation conducted by individuals, organizations, or entities with the aim of producing goods, services, or engaging in commercial transactions to generate profit and achieve specific goals. So now, when we talk about business, there are some basic elements that ought to guide businesses. And from we, the lawyers, we always advise business owners, entrepreneurs, that before you venture into any business, you need to first know the law that regulates or guides the business you intend going into. So I have some couple of laws I would want to share with us all. One of them is we have the company law. The company law is basically regulated by what we know as CAMA, Companies and Allied Matters Act, which is recently amended 2023. This law basically regulates the operation and how you even bring a business to existence. I believe some of us would have heard of CAC. You having incorporation documents and all. So what regulates this CAC and registration of companies is what we call CAMA, which is the short form of Company and Allied Matters Act. We also have what we all know as tax law. So before you venture into any business, you're expected to know the tax law that regulates the business you intend going into. And this tax law is under the administration of what we all know as FIRS. Some of us know it as Board of Internal Revenues at the state level. So under the tax law, you are expected to know the personal income tax, which is personal to you, the company income tax, which your company is expected to pay. Then we have the VAT, value added tax, we have the withholding tax, and so on. Furthermore, you are also expected to know the law that regulates the employment, because when you have a business, for those who operate a large-scale business, you are definitely going to have employees. So you're expected to know the laws that regulate your relationship with your employer and your employee. We have the when it comes to pension, I know for most private companies now, they have this pension thing in check, where you have to deduct certain allowances from the employee and from the employer. So as a business owner, you're expected to put this in mind when you intend to start a business. I also have here what I call intellectual property law. This aspect of law is what most people don't really hold dear. There is a similar case of this that happened in Ibadan some time ago, I think last year, between the popular Amala Sky, where there were news that there is another Amala Sky in Lagos bearing the same name, the same description, services, they have all the same features. But however, Amala Sky in Ibadan actually came into existence before that of Lagos. But because Amala Sky was there because there was a Sky Bank before it and fails to do the needful. And Amala Sky in Lagos, knowing full well that the name actually comes to here when you talk about Amala, had to act fast by going to CAC, get it registered, and conduct his intellectual property and things on it, and it's good. The other part which I have here is competition law. I'm talking about this because of the current dollar rate. When people go to market, and what you get from seller is that because of the new dollar rates, I'm selling what ought to be sold for 10 naira, I'm selling it for 100 naira. So what actually regulates this is a competition law under the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission. So which means that before you venture into your business, you are expected to know the laws that regulate all these businesses. So having said much about what the laws that regulate or should regulate your business, I'll proceed to talk about the forms of businesses you can actually go into or register under the Company and Allied Matters Act. So the first one on my list here is what I call the sole proprietorship, which is the commonest of all businesses. Sole proprietorship is a form of business where you as an individual can proceed to say, I want to single-handedly handle my business. And it's common among petty traders. I've never seen a joint partnership between someone selling pepper. I don't think I've come across that before. So it's a form of business which an individual can go into. You can register it. Probably you are into tailoring, you are into, even lawyers do go into sole proprietorship if you want to be the sole owner of your business. However, this comes with advantages and disadvantages. So I'll proceed to talk about the advantages first. The first advantage here is that it is easy to set up. So you can sit at the corner of your room and set up a sole proprietorship. I've been working as a sole proprietorship in my room before I had an office. So you can be a sole proprietor in your room and operate. So it's very easy to set up. Then the other advantage is that you have the sole control of your business. I can decide today I'm not working. Tomorrow I wish to work. Nobody can hold me to it. So that is what comes with sole proprietorship. Then the tax duty. Under sole proprietorship, what you are expected to pay is what is known as personal income tax, which is personal to you. I know that most of we in this country, we don't pay personal income tax. So it's expected of you as a business owner to pay, to remit incomes to the Board of Internal Revenue of FIRS as it's deemed fit. Having said a lot about the advantage of this, I would like to also talk about the disadvantages. The owner in a sole proprietorship is personally liable for all debts. So since you are the sole deciders of all actions, you are also liable to all that comes with your actions. Another basic thing about sole proprietorship is access to loan. Most persons are actually skeptical when it comes to giving loans to someone who is the sole owner of a business, because when I give you my money and you go with it, who do I hold responsible for it? Then lastly, the lifespan of a sole proprietorship type of business dies with the owner. So which means that if peradventure the owner of the business is no more, the business also goes with the owner. But however, I will not discourage us from going into sole proprietorship, because it keeps you off balance from being confused about whether to make this decision with your partner or not. The other type of form of business is what I call partnership. From the word partnership, partner, we understand that it has to be more than one person. So which means that for you to form this type of business, you must be more than one individual. Going into the advantages of this form of business, the first one, which I have here, is shared responsibility. Unlike the sole proprietorship, where you are the sole decider of what happens in your business, for partnership, for me in my firm, I operate a partnership form of law firm, whereby I don't single-handedly make decisions as it concerns the office business. So we have shared business. I am more of a corporate partner of the firm, while my other partner does more of the litigation parts. So you have shared burden. So you don't have to be the one handling the litigation, while you're also the one handling the corporate part. In some other businesses, another person can actually handle the financial parts or aspect of the business, so you don't get confused or muddle up every aspect of the business. Then I have a flexibility of management. Currently, my partner is not here, I'm here. So it's flexible. You can have division of labor where either of you can handle an aspect and you don't have to be there at the same time. Then tax benefits. Partners are generally taxed at the individual partner's level. So one thing that is also close to that partnership shares with sole proprietorship is tax. Partners are also expected to pay their tax, which is the personal income tax. So going into the disadvantages of partnership. Under partnership, the fact that you are a partner or we are partners in a joint business does not mean that we'll both be liable for the debt that comes with the business. We are individually as partners liable. So the debt does not go to the company because it's partnership. So it goes to the partners of the company. Then disagreement among partners can arise, potentially leading to conflicts. So there's this popular Yoruba that says that Are Maja Konsi, which means that no matter how close you are, there are still bound to be conflict between partners. So one of the disadvantages of partnership is what happens where there's a conflict between you and your partner. It's in so many ways crash so many partnerships, because your partner may decide, okay, I'm no longer interested in this partnership with you. And what happens if a company that has been under your management for 10 years and your partner wakes up one day, probably his wife or a family relative talking to him behind says, okay, you are good enough to start your own, and decide to dissolve the partnership? What happens? So one of the disadvantages of partnership is that either of the partner can wake up one day and terminate the partnership relationship. So that is why most time I advise that before you go into partnership, you have a partnership agreement, which will say and state what are you bringing to the table. Know what you are bringing to the table as a partner. Then when you're about to leave, you can even have a clause in the partnership agreement that whosoever initiates the dissolution of the partnership first goes with 20% of the resources of the partnership. So with that, you will know that you are still saving the image of the partnership business. So there are clauses in partnership agreement that preserve the name of the partnership, which means that the fact that you are no longer my partner does not mean you go with the partnership name. And for me, I don't advise when you go into partnership to use your name. So if I'm using my name now, Olaleko and Tolulope and Co. And Tolulope decided to wake up one day and leave, I don't have a say over his name. So he can take me to court and say, yes, the agreement says that I don't live with the entire company resources. But however, this is my name. So if I'm no longer a partner, I have to go with my name. But when you are using something like Ace and Greets now, it's not your name, it's not my name. So I can say that, yes, this is the name. The name stands, but you as a partner can go. So I don't advise you use your name when you are forming partnership with individuals because of this disadvantage. So lastly, I have the company limited, or limited as you may have it. So this has been construed to be the best form of businesses you can think of because of its numerous advantages. And one of the advantages of this is that the liability of the company is not on the directors or members of the company, but on the company itself, because the company in law is deemed to be a person who can own property, who can do so many things. Unlike sole proprietorship, partnership, you can't do much. You can only do it in your personal name. For a company, if I have Ace and Grit Nigeria Limited, Ace and Grit Nigeria Limited can make donations. Ace and Grit Partnership can own a property in its personal name. Ace and Grit can buy a car in its personal name. The only thing Ace and Grit cannot do is to marry or give birth. But when it comes to other basic needs of life, Ace and Grit, as a company limited, can do that. And like I said, the liability of the company, the debt of the company does not fall on the operators of the company, but on the company itself. So which means that if you have a company, because it's debt now, I won't use my office name. So let's say you have a Tokwe Company Limited. So if peradventure, I think we've heard of this money scheme that goes around, and some persons will tell you to invest money, then probably at the end of the transaction, they are indebted to you. It's always very difficult for people who go into such business to claim their money back because it is the company that is owing you, not the director of the company. So it now comes to the fact that how do you get your money from the company? So me as a person or the director of the company can tell you that I am not the one who took your money. Tokpe Nigeria Limited took your money. So if you want to get your money, the best you can do is to probably go to court and initiate a petition to wind up the company. Sell the asset of the company and get your money. You can't sell me to get your money. So that is one of the advantages of having a company limited. Then we have separate legal entity. I've discussed that earlier, which is that the company has its own legal identity, distinct from its owners. So the identity of a company under company limited, it's distinct from the owner. My name is Lekon. Tokwe Nigeria Limited is not Lekon. So they are both different individuals. Then we have access to capital. Having a company limited gives you an edge because you have access to capital. I know working for banks, I've come across many company limited. People even rush to get their company upgraded from sole proprietorship, partnership to limited. Because by the time they are giving a company, let's say sole proprietorship is entitled to 500,000. A company limited can apply for 500 million and it's going to be granted. Even some without collaterals. Because it's a company limited. So it's bigger than, and the resources is wider than that of sole proprietorship and partnership. So moving on from there, I have here also that starting or operating businesses in Nigeria involve complying with various legal requirements. When we started, I told you the laws that you need to put in mind when you are contemplating starting a business. We talked about the company law where we have the CAMA. We talked about the tax where you have the FRS. We talked about the employment law when we talked about the pension act. Then we talked about the competition law also. So coming to registration of companies now, the body that regulates registration of company is the Corporate Affairs Commission. So should you want to register a company now, you should think of approaching Corporate Affairs Commission. However, there are agents who are accredited. One of those who are accredited are legal practitioners. Accountants are also accredited individuals. Then you as an individual can also register personally. The only reason why we don't really advise you as an individual to register is because of mistakes. There's some complexity when it comes to registering yourself that you may not understand. And by the time you make the mistake and decide to approach a lawyer, it's going to charge you double of what ought to have been charged when you consult an accountant or a lawyer. But however, I will tell you one of the things you need to put in mind when you are registering at the CAC. When you are registering at the CAC, you have to consider the name you intend to use. The name must not be offensive or goes, or let's say, like you registering Yoruba Nation Nigeria Limited. You know that it goes against the principle of unity in the country. So such name will not be approved. So you have to use a name that's acceptable. Then you have to look at the object of whatever you intend to do. It must also not be offensive. You can't put an object that you're selling weapons and you feel it to be approved. So you have to look at what is objective in forming your company. Then you also look at, so these are part of what, then you look at the who are the proprietors or to be the directors of the company. And for some companies, you have to get some license before you even get it registered. If you are saying you are a medical doctor now, you have to get a license. People, you consult Pastor Ayo for your license. And for lawyers, you also have to have your license also, which will be uploaded, and some other engineers and all. So you have to look at what are your professional requirements before you think of forming a company. So going further, you have to consider the tax implication of your company too. We've discussed that earlier, where we talked about the company income tax, then the value-added tax. We've discussed that. Then we've discussed for those who intend to register banking, microfinance, also their license, you have to consult CBN, the Central Bank of Nigeria, to get certain requirements fulfilled. So moving on to the next aspect, which is contracts. Daily, each and every one of us go into one contract or the other without even understanding that we are into contract with someone. Because basically, contract talks about, I have a contract is a legally binding agreement between one or more persons that outline the rights and obligation of each party regarding a specific transaction or undertaking. A contract may be oral or written. So a contract is an agreement between two parties stating the rights, duties, privileges that comes with such contracts. Each and every one of us here have gone into one contract or the other. In fact, we are all into a contract because we all have an apartment of our own. So, and for you to have an apartment, you would have accepted an offer from your landlord. You would have paid consideration, which is money. You would have been legally capable of conducting such contracts. So for you to have all these elements, it means we all partake in contracts daily. So I have an illustration here, which like I said earlier, renting an apartment. In renting an apartment now, your landlord will advertise if anybody is interested in renting a 3-bedroom apartment. you can contact within. That is an offer. Like I said, an offer has some basic elements. One of which is offer. There must be an offer. There must be acceptance of that offer. There must be consideration, which is money. Then there must be legal capacity. So talking about offer now, the illustration I have here is for better understanding that of an apartment. The offer comes from your landlord. The offer comes from your landlord. The landlord offers to rent out an apartment to a tenant, specifying the terms, conditions of the tenancy. When you want to rent an apartment, some apartment will tell you, I'm not allowing you to rear animals in my apartment. You are not allowed to invite visitors. That is an offer to you. The next thing now is acceptance. Acceptance is, okay, I'm not going to bring in visitors. I'm not going to bring in dogs or any form of animal. You are accepting the terms and conditions of the contract. Then when there is an addendum as to the terms of this contract, the next phase of the contract is consideration, which you all know as money. The landlord tells you, okay, for you to rent my apartment, you are expected to pay 300,000. And if you have the money, you also accept to pay the consideration, which is the money. And then there's a contract. But there is a basic element which actually supersedes all this contract, which is the legal capacity. Does the landlord have the legal capacity to initiate the contract? Do you as an individual also have the legal capacity to initiate the contract? A minor cannot do some basic things. The Constitution pegged the age of an adult to 18 and above. So if you are going into contract with someone who is below 18, it's a voidable contract. Or when you are going into contract with someone who is not mentally stable to conduct that contract, someone of an unsound mind, you will consider that to be the person not being of legal capacity. So for you to go into any contract with anybody, you have to first consider if all these four elements are available. So let's say you want to buy a car and the person offers you, you are expected to look at the person, look at the value, the terms and conditions that regulate the contract before you proceed. I further have here that before you go into contract, you have to understand some basic things. You don't just jump into a contract. This house is a hot cake. Let me just quickly pay before another person move into the house. You have to look at some basic things. First, you have to understand the rights and obligations tied to the contract. So which means that before you go into any contract, you have to know the rights. What are your rights? What are the obligations? We've had a situation where tenants will come complaining that the landlord served you a 1-month notice, but I'm entitled to 6-month notice now. You ought to have read and understand what the contract is before you sign, and not after 3 or 2 days to your tenancy coming to an end and you are now shouting that, no, I'm entitled to 6 months. If you've read and understood what is there, you won't say such. So you have to also identify the risk and liabilities tied to any contract. So before you pen your signature on any contract, you have to understand what are the risks tied to this, what are the obligations. For those who go into money lending, you have to see, if I ask this person for this money now, this loan, what are the risks tied to it? Will they come and sell my father's house? Will they come and sell whatever does not belong to me? So you have to understand the risk tied to it. Then you have to clarify the terms and conditions. You have to know what are the terms and conditions of this contract. So you don't just say, because it's my friend, let me just sign it. Don't worry, you are my party now. We'll discuss the terms later. First, before signing, understand the terms and conditions, because there are some conditions in terms, in agreements, that can be so complex for you to understand. So if you don't understand the terms, I always advise that when you are faced with signing a contract, ask for the document. I don't read document on phones or laptop. I'll ask for the printed copy so I can write my observations on it. So when you see such agreement or contract, you look at what are the terms. clarify it if you don't understand what this means when you're talking about act of God. Some persons may not even understand what act of God is. So you have to ask, what is act of God, sir? So if you are faced with force majeure, you have to ask, what does it mean, sir? So even if you don't understand, try and consult someone who understands so that you don't just commit yourself to it and start complaining thereafter. Then I also have ways that you can also avoid unfavorable terms. When my client approach our firms to help them review contracts, when I find a clause that I feel this clause is harmful, I will tell them it's either you remove it or you allow me to draft it in my own term and tell the person to sign. So where you have a clause in an agreement that it's not favorable to you, you should be able to know that, no, this clause is not favorable to me. And you have to always look at the future term of that business. Then I also have your ensuring legal compliance and protection of rights and interests. So when you go into contracts, you have to know that most contracts are actually regulated by laws. I'm using laws because it depends on the contract you are going into. For those going into event caterings now, the signage and all, there are laws that regulate all these things. So probably in a contract that is avoiding tax now and a few years after you are called upon that they need to investigate your tax return, and you don't even know that in the agreement you've been avoiding tax. Now they are computing the tax and it's reading to millions. It's avoidable if you had actually look at the legal compliance of the agreement before venturing into it. So you have to look at what are the laws that regulate this contract between me and this person. What are my tax obligations? What are the things I need to put in shape? For many persons that own businesses now, they don't know that they are expected to pay annual returns yearly. You are expected to pay a certain amount as your annual return every year before June of every year. And the annual return is 3,000 naira per year. However, if you now fail to pay at the end of the first year, there's a penalty of 5,000. So now imagine yourself now not paying the 3,000 naira for 30 years. And it now happens that you want to get a contract from one big company running to millions. And you now have to first calculate your 33,000. Then you calculate your 5,000, multiply by 30. You know how much that is. And another thing is that currently for CAC now, if your company is not on for 10 years and you fail to pay your annual return and everything, your company will be deactivated. So which means that if you try to approach someone like me now to go into business with you, the first thing I will do is to get your name. I know Nigeria, we don't have good database to even access your name, but I can access your company. So I'll go to the CAC database, type your company profile. If I'm able to see your company profile, good. The next thing I will go after is who are the face of this company, which is you. So if I check and your name is not there, I'll find it very hard to go into business with you. But you can actually avoid this if you are tax compliant. Because if you don't, at some point, your name will be removed from the company. Your company will be deactivated. Getting your name back on the CAC database is another issue entirely different from. So paying your annual return now for 30 years does not mean your name will automatically fly back to the database. So it may actually take months. So now imagine yourself going into a contract that should be perfected within 1 week. And you first have to deal with the issue of paying 30 years tax, annual return. Then you now have to start battling with getting your name back on the CAC portal. You understand what it takes and the number of days and millions you would have to pay to get that done. So, like I've said enough about that. I've talked about you ensuring that the contract you intend to go into is actually stated in a very clear and simple English. For someone like me, I don't enjoy when I write and I see big English. Your contract should be in a term that even someone selling paper should be able to comprehend what is in an agreement. So when you are faced with such documents, yes, there are some terminologies that are compulsory that should be in certain agreements. But however, in such agreement too, you can insist that the grammar should be interpreted. There's always another page where you can have an interpretation to every big terms used in an agreement. So it should be in a clear and precise language. But above all, when it comes to contract, seek legal advice. Above all, seek legal advice. Don't say because today the lawyer told me what to expect when I'm being faced with a contract agreement, I can do it all by myself. No, a lawyer can cajole you into signing what you ought not to sign. There are still some things that I will not tell you because you are not paying me. So I won't tell you everything, but I will still tell you everything. So before you go into the agreement, always seek the counsel of a lawyer to interpret each and every term of the contract to you. So lastly, now I'll be going into property acquisition. It is the joy of everybody to at one time or the other to acquire a property of their own, be it car, be it landed property. But now we are talking about landed properties. When it comes to landed properties, I've seen people just go to a Calabar, for example, because the property is cheap. You can get a property of 5 million naira there, 6 million naira, and go into it. You just sign the papers and you go without even looking back. There's what we lawyers call due diligence when it comes to property acquisition. Due diligence entails that when you are faced with getting a property, there are some things you need to do to ensure that you get it right. And part of what you need to do, the first on the list is what I call title verification. When you want to acquire a property, you need to verify the title. So you need to verify the title. I always advise my clients now that when you want to buy property in Ibadan where you have many agboles, you don't just say, because the entire agbole are dead, let me quickly buy it and demolish the house, and when they come back, they will know that this is their house. It's a lie. When you want to buy a property, you first ask question, what document is on this property? That is the first question you ask. Because there are some registered documents and some are not registered. So when you are faced with a registered document on the land, the first thing that should come to your mind is going to Ministry of Lands, where you have all the documents. Or if it's in Lagos, Taraba, you have to go to the registry to conduct, is this document indeed registered here? Who gave the consent? All lands, according to the Land Use Act, belongs to the governor. So, did this person actually get the consent of the governor over this land to obtain a CFO? So when you confirm that, you are one edge moving towards the right path. However, if it's not a land already registered, you have to ask questions. How did you come across this land? And you should not be shy in asking questions. When you're asking questions from an elderly or this ballet, don't go there speaking English. Whenever I want to meet them, I don't speak English. I even don't put on suits. I go with my native prostrates. Leave your lawyer skills or whatever behind and just do whatever you need to do to get the right results. If possible, go with their drink to get the right answers from their mouths. Ask questions. Trace the history of the land. Who gave you this land? How did you even come upon this land? Was it a land acquired by battle? Was it an inheritance or whatsoever? Trace it down to the person who is about to sell to you. However, if it's a registered document, you don't need to go that far because it is deemed that the person had done all those things before registering the document. So another thing you need to consider is going with a surveyor. The reason why you need to go with a surveyor is for you to know if the land is within government acquisition area or not. No amount of question can bring out that. You need to know if I don't know if there's any surveyor in this church. There's what they call, I'm trying to remember the name now, the meters from the road to the land to know if tomorrow, circular road, if the land you are buying is not within a circular road. Because if it's within a circular road, you are buying a liability. You also have to, so the surveyor that is going with you look at the coordinate of the land, if the land measures with what is being given to you, so that you are not giving a land in Ibadan. And the surveyor is saying that the land is in Lagos territory, in case you want to register the documents. Then lastly, we talk about the documentation. Don't go to Iwo Road to go and meet lawyers to prepare an agreement for you. And like I always say, if you want an agreement of 10,000, you will get. If you want an agreement equal of the amount of what you are paying, you will also get. So meet qualified lawyers to prepare the agreement for you. So lastly, I have here the consequence of non-compliance with laws regulating businesses, contract, and property acquisition in Nigeria. The first I have here is legal liability. Individuals or entities may face legal actions, fines. So which means that if someone does not have the legal capacity to go into contract and you go into contract with it, like I said, it can be void or voidable. So if a family member of mine now, knowing that they have lawyer in their family, decide to go into contract with the wrong person, I won't stress, I'll just go to court. Like I said, you can be void. Then loss of rights. I have also a reputational damage. So if you don't consider all these things when it comes to businesses now, your reputation may be affected. If you don't consider who to go into partnership with, and tomorrow your Tolulope and Ajisa decide to become Adisa alone, it's going to affect your reputation in your business. Then I have a market exclusion, criminal liability, then investor confidence. If you have a registered, someone who has a registered company has many edge over someone whose business is just an umbrella business. So if your business is registered now, an investor will trust you more. I know we've had teachings about how to use, how to project our business out there. So your business must have the physical presence. It must have the internet presence. So you can actually have it online so that when an investor wants to invest in you, someone like me now, when I want to meet a new client, I'll just tell you, just type the name of my office on Google. It will bring out my face, bring out what I do, bring out reviews. So it makes someone want to partner with you, even trust you more. So having said that, because I think my time is up, like I started, we refine us to Proverb 24, verse 3 to 4. I will also be closing by referring us to the book of Romans 13, verse 1, which says, "Let everyone be subject to governing authorities, for there is no authority except that which God has established. The authority that exists have been established by God." Thus, what I'm saying here is that you need to understand that there are authorities regulating the establishment of businesses, contracts, and property acquisitions. So you must also try as much as possible to ensure compliance with all these laws to avoid a situation where you have to face the consequence of non-compliance with the legal requirement and due diligence measures that may have made you avoid mitigating risk that may be faced during the course of going into these contracts. So I hope with this little explanation, we can going into contracts now, bearing in mind the basic things we need to do. So I'm open to questions now from everyone. If you have a question, you can throw it up so we can have it trashed. Questions?
Praise the Lord. Okay. So my first question. So, like you explained, a sole proprietor. If I want to start a business alone, can I come to you as like me, myself, and come and register without having like a standard, like maybe a standard plan, like a team? I don't know if you get. Like, can I come to you and register as Samuel? Let me just use that for an example. I can register as Samuel without having like an office and staff working. I don't know. Do you understand the questions?
Well, let me answer. In answering you, yes, you can. If you want to register a company, you need not even know everything about the company. When you approach that is why I said in all you do, approach a legal practitioners. So if you approach me, for example, now, I'll ask you some basic questions about what you intend to go into. So those questions will prepare your mind if you are even ready to venture into the business or not. So when you answer in the affirmative, that is when I will now guide you. For you to go into this business, this is what is expected of you. Do you feel you have the requirements? So when you have the requirement, then you are as well as good to go. I hope that answers your question.
And another question, sir. Okay, you talked about.
Make it so that others can ask
yes,
questions.
just to. Okay, so you talked about tax. As like once you register your business and stuff like that. So I would like to know how the whole like the tax process was. Is it monthly, is it annual, and stuff like that?
Okay, I may not be able to answer in details, but I'll just give you an insight into it. For personal income tax now, is a yearly thing. I mean, 3 years thing. So once you pay for 29. This is 2024. So if you are paying for 24 now, you don't pay ahead. You pay 2024, 2023, and 2022. That is 3 years. So which expires at the end of the third year. So if you are paying for this year now, it means that you are paying for 3 years back. Then when you are entering 2025 now, it becomes a year, which means you are upgrading the personal income tax every year. But your first payment should cover 3 years back. Then for annual return is a yearly thing. So which runs from June of last year to June of this year. So for those whose company were registered last year, for business name now, you are expected to start paying your annual return immediately. So if you registered last year after June, you are expected to pay your annual return for last year before June of this year. If not, another penalty of 5,000 will be added onto it. But for company limited, you have a 18 months grace period to start paying your annual return.
The sole proprietorship you talked about, for the disadvantage, you said the lifespan goes with the owner. So there's this popular saying that says in Yoruba, I don't know, maybe Yoruba or English, but I think I better know it in Yoruba, that says business, you can leave a business for your children, but the white collar job, you can leave for your children. So how do we balance that, sir?
Okay. For business, when those who actually postulated that Yoruba adage, they did not look into the future that there will be some laws limiting the adage. So for the law limiting the adage now, it's partnership and sole proprietorship. If your company is a company limited, like I said, a company limited can be on for as long as it can. But because a partnership, someone who knows your mom selling amala, and your mom is now late, and you now think that the person would see the same image of your mother in you, it's not possible. But if it's a company limited, nobody knows your mommy. What they know is that this company sells amala. So even when the mommy is no longer there, the company that sells amala is still there. It's different from Iya Basira ti lọ. The question is that, is it Iyaba sells amala that you are still eating? The question is in the negative. So I hope that answers the question.
Okay. So you said, does it mean that sole proprietorship and business name, they are different? I mean, they are the same thing. If you register a business name, can it still remain to after the person passes? Probably if there's a transfer of ownership. And my second question: if you already registered your business, for example, if you registered 2021 and you have probably not been paying annual return, does it mean that you're going to pay that fine of 5,000 for every year and that 3,000 too? And I don't understand that personal income tax.
So the first question, which is what's that first question again?
Business name.
Business name. What most people call sole proprietorship is business name. Let me first clarify that. There's nothing like business name in the true sense. What is the correct word is sole proprietorship. But you know, Nigeria now, we just find a common name to use. So once you hear business name, what the person is referring to is sole proprietorship, or at most partnership. So when you're talking about business name now, you're talking about sole proprietorship or partnership. Same way when you're talking about company, you are talking about company limited. So you don't say, I have a Tinola supermarket, and you are referring to that as a company. It's a business. It's not a company as LTD or limited at. So once your company or your business does not have that, it's generally referred to as business name or business also proprietorship. Then on your second question, if your company is registered in, like I said, if it's a business name registered in 2021, you are deemed to have commenced business 28 days after that registration. So which means that it start count, whether you decide to register and drop your certificate at home, your annual return start counting. So like I said, the statutory fee is 3,000, while the penalty is 5,000. So if from 2021 you fail to comply, just calculate your 3,000, then add your 5,000 and your remitter fee of probably 300 and pay every year. Mr.
Praise the Lord. So I want to ask about the land part. So in the case where I got a land on a federal highway, so and I have my documents all approved from the federal government, then later on, I think the states people are coming around to say they are on. I think you are yes, or so you are around. There's an alignment and all that, because although I know that from the middle of the road, there's a particular measurement meters that the government yes, about 45 meters currently. Yes, 45 this way, 45 this way. So I know the government still has every. So my question is that in the case of where the state and the federal government, and you got your approval from the federal and all that, but the state is coming in to claim your place, they want to collect a certain percentage from you every year or so. What do you do about it?
Okay, the first thing is there is the state circular road and there's a federal circular road. There are some lands that are federal lands. Most highways belongs to the federal. So, and most all these Bodija road, just community road, are state roads. So when you are faced with conflict between whether it is federal that you ought to pay, because I think I was faced with similar issue where one of my clients got a land which is claimed to be a federal land. He was issued a document, and thereafter he approached me that he wants to register. I asked him to bring out the document, and he came with a survey plan, a registered survey plan. Because if it is federal circular road, you won't be able to do anything at the state level. The state will even tell you that they cannot issue a document to you because this land belongs to the federal government. But the moment you get a document, and that is why I advise that you conduct due diligence before you even buy it. If I were to be in your shoes now, the first thing I will do is, if I don't know if it's a federal circular road or a state circular road, I will conduct my due diligence both at the state and at the federal level. And that is why I said you need to go with a surveyor. You cannot rely on your own knowledge that this is a circular road? Because, like you said, 45 meters away from the road. What happens to the remaining land after the 45 meter? Do they belong to the federal? So you need to first establish if the 45 meter after the circular road, because the federal land is just the 45 meter after the road. Anything after the 45 meter belongs back to the states. So if what you are getting is the 45 after the 45 down, the state would definitely have a say over it. Okay, let me quick. Well, I think I was the one that did the business name. So okay, please, can you come up?
Last year, I think early last year, you helped me to register my business. So ever since then, I just dropped the certificate at home. So I don't know if I'm supposed to be paying tax. You did not tell me.
Okay, you registered last year. I think what month, December or thereabouts. Since it's within last year, you still fall within the bracket of paying 3,000. Well, once it exceeds a year, every year. So once it exceeds June, just add your 5,300 naira to it. So the next question.
Okay. So for a land that probably I'm getting from an inherited land, a land that does not have any existing documents. So how will I be sure that what these people are telling me is the truth? Number one. And then the second question, if I go ahead to purchase such land and I've done the surveying, I submitted the red copy in the Ministry of Lands and everything, am I safe?
Okay.
Or what I'm saying is those people will not come back later to see. I have my document now. I've done the survey. I have the certificate, the copy of the one submitted in the Ministry of Land. So is it safe?
Okay. The first answer is get a lawyer. That's the first answer to that. The second answer is the reason why I said get a lawyer is the way I can question you now, and it's either you are shy to answer my question or you start shaking. If I decide to go into examination with you. So when you get a lawyer know the right question. I can ask an elderly person a question and the person will start insulting me or start acting weird. From there, I will know that this person has something he's hiding. So that's why I said get a lawyer. Then what thing I always do whenever I go on due diligence is when I ask you a question and I sense your countenance and everything, I will just accept and say, okay, no problem. I will come back, but not to you. To the environment. Ask questions about the people. Do you know about this property I want to purchase? The person has no interest. So you'll be willing to tell me, that property, don't buy it. So if they buy it, they used to fight. I will note it. Then I will come back again and ask the person, what has happened over this property before? Who is this person? Who is this person? Then when you get contact, let's say they are siblings now. For me now, when I'm buying property that belongs to family, and you're telling me that in Yoruba there's the Idigi way of distributing heritage. When Idigi, so when you are buying such property now and they are telling you that the person had 3 wives and the 3 wives had 5 children, there's the Oriojori way of distributing property under the Nigerian Yoruba custom. So if they are now telling you that they did not use the Oriojori, which is per head, and they are using the branch, which is the Digi, you should now ask question, okay, this first wife, how many children do you think she has? She had 5. Note it down. Second wife had just 1 child. The third one does not have any issue at all. Issue means any child. You will know that the one that does not have child, if the person is dead, you are good. The person had nothing. So you cannot go to his family. He dies with everything. You are now faced with the person that has 3 children and has 5 children. So if the person that has 3 children is dead, the property automatically reverts to the remaining 3 children. So you will now be faced with getting the contact of the 3 children to know. So don't say that because the person is, because one thing that happens is that when probably one of them is in UK and you feel, maybe you can lower, write a sign. Don't believe that. There is now email. What I do is I will tell you, let me prepare and send it to the email. Let the person just sign, send it back to me. Even if the remaining signs and there's that free space, I'm okay with it because I've gotten my signature from that person. So I can always add it to it at the end of the day. Then your second question, which is, what if you now proceed to register and you have the registered documents? Having a CFO does not confer on you an automatic ownership of property. It's just a show of the fact that you've gotten a government approval. You can get a CFO and it's still a voidable document. So let's say you decide not to get the consent of the family head now and decide to go and get a document and you perfected it. The consent of the family head is the most compulsory of all signature. So even if you get the CFO and I decide to take you to court, they are going to void the CFO and you have to do the right thing. So getting the CFO does not mean that you've avoided the risk of falling victim of property acquisition. It doesn't. I hope that clarifies it. Okay, Pastor Temi.
So I have a couple, but because of time, I just want us to maybe just eat it sharp. So is sole proprietorship transferable? Because most of us, we are in that category. Can I transfer it to my children? Like, okay, my business is top D now. Can I transfer it to Miche?
Okay. Yes, it's transferable.
Okay, thank you, sir. Then for company limited, what are the basic requirements if I want to go into company limited?
Okay, for if you have a business name, you can actually upgrade to company limited. So you need not even register a company limited afresh. So for now that you had a business name, let's say tomorrow you decide to grow big, you don't need to register a new name. You can upgrade that your business name to not that same name, to a limited, like the name Pastor Temi said now, top D. So let's say you registered as a business name with top D, and tomorrow now Pastor Temi hits 500 million and decided to upgrade. He can upgrade to top D Nigeria Limited while retaining that same top D. So not that you have to proceed to register triple D. You can retain that same name and just upgrade it. They're talking about the requirements. Like I said, when you want to register any company, the first thing is you have to know what are the objects of this company. So you need the objects, you need the address of the company, phone numbers, email, particulars of the to-be directors. Then you look at secretary. One thing that is different from, that makes company different from other form of businesses is shares. Shares can be in terms of investments. So you may be the director and you are not even a shareholder. So you can bring Pastor Ayo now to be a shareholder in your company. Pastor Ayo can even have a company that is not a director. He can make you a director and he is the owner of the company. He's just a shareholder. So he does not participate in the daily activities of the company. The directors do. So you need the details of the shareholders, the particulars of the directors, then how you want the shares varies. You can have 1 million share capital, equity share capital. You can have 1 million equity share capital, divide it, then you can sell it. That's another good thing about company limited. You can trade your shares such that if I have a company that is viable, I can tell you that, okay, it's a 1 million share capital. I want to bring a Pastor Temi to partner. However, for you to partner, I'm going to sell 1 million share capital to you at, I think there was a time MTN sold shares. I know so many persons, individuals actually bought those shares. So it's similar. So you can bring someone in to sell shares and while you just do the managerial duties.
Thank you, sir. So the next one, this charges, tax, annual returns. How do we pay? Is it that we wait for mails or we have to go to the offices?
No, you don't even receive mails or anything. I know for pension now, pension is regulated by the Pension Act. So there's a certain amount you're expected to deduct as an employer to contribute. You deduct a certain amount from the, I think 2% or so, while the employer contributes the higher sum. Then you add it and pay it into a contributory pension scheme. That one is monthly. For personal income tax now, you need not even get a notification. You can walk into FRS. I want to get a personal income tax or be a board of internal revenue. You want to they will get you the assessment. What do you do? What do you need it for? Then they calculate it and they get it done for you. Then for annual return, like I said, once you register a company, a business, it starts running after 28 days. Why for company limited, you have the grace period of 18 months. But after 18 months, your annual return starts counting immediately. So, but all this, you don't need to, you won't receive any notification. So that is more reason why I said you still need to consult a lawyer. Because, and what your advice is for you to, the same way you have a family doctor, you should also learn to have family lawyer. So when you have family, there's what we lawyers called retainership. When you have a retainership with a lawyer, then the lawyer is saddled with the responsibility of informing you at the due time that my client, since I'm your lawyer, I'm the one in charge of the legal compliance of your company. Also, you are expected to do this thing. No? If the lawyer now fails to inform you, the lawyer will be held liable because there's a contract between you and the lawyer to inform you on all these things. But if the lawyer informs you and you fail to comply, you will be held liable for it and pay.
Thank you. So the last one, sometimes where the governments take people's land, there are some people they will pay them compensation, some people they don't pay them compensation. So what are the documents that I need to secure my land such that even if the government comes, I can still get compensated?
Okay. Like I said, the law that regulates lands is the Land Use Act. And like I said, all lands belongs to the governor, which means that the governor, being the owner of a land, can walk into any land and acquire. But however, there is a proviso to that effect that it must be for public interest only. So, and for you to qualify to a compensation, your land must be a registered land. And that is where the CFO, sublease, assignment comes in. So if you have a registered document on your land, now let's say a CFO and the government decides to acquire your land, what I always advise is that don't just say they jump into my land and acquire and you give up. You first need to know why are they even acquiring your land. There are cases that says that before government can acquire a land, they have to do certain things. The question is that have the government even complied with what is expected of them before they acquire your land? Don't say because let me just give up. The fight is for the... Don't do that. Look at the gazettes, because there must be a gazette stating what the land is to be used for, the purpose of the land. Does the purpose of the land comply with existing laws? So if it complies and you have registered documents, you are good to go. And that is why it's always very necessary that when you acquire a land, don't just keep the unregistered document at home and say that, okay, let me just build a house. Try as much as possible to get it registered. Currently in Oyo State now, there's what they call homeowner, which is different from the way CFO used to be registered. This one is even affordable. For you to register a one plot now, if you have 250,000, you get a CFO. Compared to like 5 years ago, where you still have to, one plot to 1 acre. Then depending on the structure on it also. So if it's a bungalow, there's an amount. If it's a duplex, there's an amount attached to it. So I think I'll send I think there is a pamphlet for it. I'll send it on the church page later today, so that if you have a land, just approach either a lawyer. You can approach the ministry and pay the money and start your documentation.
All right, thank you very much, sir. I just wanted to ask, talking about shares and stocks. I've always thought that for you to be able to acquire shares or buy, you need to be like very rich. You need to have copious amount of money. But very recently, I stumbled upon an information that even with an amount as little as the price of your phone, you can buy shares.
Even lesser.
Okay, with companies. So I've been trying to check around it, but I want you to say a few things on that because I'm trying to be very careful. I don't want to lose money. Last year, I lost money. So I'm trying to be wise now. So how do we go about, if we say we want to start buying shares now, no matter how little it is, how can one go about it? and be ensured that whatever money you are putting in is safe, secured?
Okay. In answering that, even as a lawyer, I'm not a jack of all trades. So I will advise that you consult a stockbroker. They are in the best position to advise you on how to manage your portfolio properly. Like I said, you can get even a unit of share for lesser than 500, depending on how much you want to. But however, for you to get a good return on your money, get a stockbroker, they are in the best position to put you through on. This is what we even invest in. I've also invested in some that crashed too, because I don't want to pay a stockbroker. So try and consult with a stockbroker. They are in the best position to say, okay, no, this stock is a bad business. Don't do it. So when you do, you get your return.
The registration alone is the 250,000 or more.
Okay, the registration fee, it comes to it. When I'm saying registration fee, I'm talking about the total fee. It's different from the land payment. Though. You buy the land from whosoever owns the land. You now bring your document to the ministry that I want to get a C of O, certificate of occupancy. So what you now need to pay is what if I'm to break it down, I think I still remember you pay 170,000 for application fee. You pay 10,000 for the breakdown of the money. You pay 10,000 for the form, 5,000 naira for survey investigation. I think I don't even think it's even up to 250 self. Let's say 200. So with 200 now for a bungalow, one plot to 1 acre, you will get your land registered. And the funny thing is that once you pay this one-off money, you don't need to pay any other additional money. So it's just for you. If you now want it to be fast, the reason why most people contact lawyers is because lawyers, the ministry people may not want to ask you for money. So lawyers know how to. So it's when you consult a lawyer that the lawyer will now add his own professional fee. Then it starts reading 250, 300, 500. So if you consult me, I'll still charge you. So, but you can try to walk in and make inquiries and get it registered.
As a sole proprietor, like if I registered my business and along the line I felt like I can't do it alone and I employed other people to do it with me, am I to deduct their tasks? Like, am I the one responsible for their task payments? Or I don't understand.
Okay. Like I said, there are several taxes you're expected to pay. VAT now is on business, which means for service provider, now when you conduct a service now, you are expected to deduct value added tax. For personal income tax now, I know for where I was working before now, my principal makes it a compulsion that when he's paying our salary, after deducting pension, he deducts our personal income tax as well. Because at the end of the deduction, the document does not belong to you. And I think the reason why most persons don't take it serious is because there's really no stringent rule monitoring the payment. It's only when you want to travel outside the country and your tax is demanded that you now start looking for one lawyer to perform magic within 3 days. You are expected to make these payments monthly. Once you conduct any business and you get a return, there's a certain amount of money. It's tax law, so it's wide. So I can't really explain everything here. So, but tax, the way it works is that there are some deductible fees. There are some non-deductible fees. So when you calculate your income and allowances, there are some amounts you are expected to deduct. There are some you are not expected to deduct. So the sum total of the deductible fee are what you now pay as your tax return for the month or for the year. So, like you said, as an employer, I would advise that for the good of your employee, it's good that you deduct all these payments. For pension, I always advise that if possible, if you have the finance, make it a thing for those who are in private sector, public is compulsory. For private sector, deduct all these fees so that when the person retires from your business, they have something to fall back to. Two last question. Last question.
So do you still register a business, a land that already has a C of O?
Yes, good question. CFO is not the only registered document. You know, I said earlier that when you want to acquire property, it can either be a registered property or non-registered. If it is registered properties, it means that it's either there's a certificate of occupancy on the property before you purchase. So let's say Pastor Temi has a property now, and Mrs. Adewi is buying from him. She's buying a CFO from him. She's expected to proceed to register a deed of assignment because there's a subsequent transaction on that CFO. And for Pastor Temi now, because Pastor Temi's landlord, after registering a CFO now, is the governor. The governor now is the landlord. You know, the first thing I said was that all lands belongs to the governor. So when you want to register your CFO now, it's as if you are now approaching the governor. I just bought this land. I need you to issue me a document. The governor issues you a document called the CFO. Now you want to sell to Mr. Adeoye now. It's now for Mr. Adeoye now. You are expected to get the consent of the governor. Governor, I've used this land for, with CFO you have 99 years. I've used this property for 40 years. Now I want to sell to Mrs. Adeoye. I need your consent to sell. So that consent is what we now call assignments. You are now assigning your unexpired residue to her. So once you have CFO on a land, the subsequent document you're expected to have is an assignment. And if it's a lease, the subsequent document you're expected to have is a sublease. And so on. I hope it expires, so you have to reapply to get another number of years. But hardly will anybody use the house for 99 years. So in view of no further question, we'll be bringing today's topic to an end. So I thank you all.